republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bill, are you here for open forum? You want to say anything? You're observing.
Just want to see these lovely pictures.
Okay. Here, the first one.
Thank you.
As you know, we have two sets of minutes to approve. So the first one is from the December 8th. Everyone okay with December 8th?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion.
Move to accept the minutes of December.
Marilyn?
I second it.
Marilyn, Nancy approved. So voted? Everyone agrees?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next set of minutes is January 12th. Everyone all set with the January 12th? Yes.
Move to accept the minutes of January 12th.
Okay, Marilyn.
Second.
Second, Bob. So voted?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, aye, aye.
Good.
Okay. All set, Kristen?
Great. So we do have the numbers for January. I want to point out, so we have 306 total rides, which is about 50 lower than what we've been doing as of the past couple of months, but we did not have service on January 1st for New Year's, January 19th for Martin Luther King Day, and we missed January 22nd and 27th for the weather. So I think that probably makes up the difference there. I am also, tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to Walker Meadows to do a talk on our transportation system there. I did talk to their program coordinator. I don't know exactly his title. He told me he has about 35 people signed up for the talk tomorrow, so hopefully that's 35 new people riding the bus, which would be great. And on April 7th, I will be going to Chauncey, Del Webb at Chauncey, to talk to them about transportation. We had to cancel it twice because of the weather, unfortunately, so we just moved it to April to hopefully avoid all the bad weather altogether, which would be great. And moving forward, I have had some conversations with the Willows and with housing, so those are probably two additional talks that I would have about the transportation, which I think just helps us get our message out there. So we've definitely seen less people in and out because of the winter. I think that there's probably a lot of people who either don't want to drive or just don't want to get out in general when the weather's bad. So our January average attendance was 44.47 and February was 45.72. In January we had 48.8 volunteer hours, and in February we had 55 volunteer hours. In January we had 311 individuals that visited, and in February we had 334 individuals. And that made up for 940 visits in January and 964 visits in February. And our February bus statistics are not yet available. We had our New Year's Eve brunch starting January, which seems like it was so long ago at this point, but it went really well. I did get some feedback about the performer, but other than that, I think everything went off pretty successfully. We had about 80 people that came for that, and the senior center supporters paid for the performer.
That's nice.
The AARP tax program is up and running. Those appointments are being taken at the community center. They have 6 tax preparers, and they're going to continue offering appointments through April 7th when the tax period ends. At this point, I would say that we have a very, very, very small handful of appointments that are kind of reserved for if there was bad weather, we could channel people into those. But at this point, the very few spots remain. And I think each tax preparer takes either 4 or 5 appointments on each Friday. So at the end, when we have all of those numbers, there will be probably a few hundred appointments that they've taken just for Westborough, which is awesome. AARP does a lot of really great work with that program. I have had some questions about Fridays. I think some people don't like to go on Fridays, or because that's our early day. That's why they're at the community center, because they're open all day. We have Fridays because every town has a different day, and they're the same tax preparers that go everywhere. So Westborough's designated day is Fridays, and there's not too much that we can do to change that. But it was great that the recreation department was able to accommodate them and have the appointments being done through there. It's great, and it also gets people in those doors and hopefully maybe introduces them to that space. Some of our special programs, we have breakfast with the police tomorrow. On Thursday, Tammy Wong and I are taking a group of her Asian outreach participants to Old Sturbridge Village. That was actually paid for by the Westborough Cultural Council, so they are paying for the tickets.
Wow.
The people going on the trip are responsible for their own lunch, but I think that that's going to be a lot of fun. And it's also kind of a test run. I've never taken a group there. I haven't been there myself since I was very young. So to kind of see if that's potentially a good spot to revisit in the future. Luckily, I think should make out with good weather, but you know, March is always a little unstable. But Tammy really wanted to get there for the maple syrup harvesting, so that is the primary reason for our visit. Luckily, St. Patrick's Day fell on a Tuesday this year, so our St. Patrick's Day dinner is on actual St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. Also on March 17th, we'll be doing a lunch and learn, What's Town Meeting? That is with the town moderator and the town clerk to just kind of talk about the process, getting there, what town meeting is, what's the point, how does the voting work, all of that. Following that, we're going to be doing a town and school budget lunch and learn ahead of town meeting, so that will be with the school superintendent as well as Christy Williams, the town administrator.
On the calendar, you've got that, what is town meeting on the 18th? Have things switched?
Let me check my emails, but I don't believe so.
Yes, it says 12 noon on the 18th, once you learn
For what is town meeting? I might have just typed it in wrong. I'll go back to my emails and check. We'll clear the record after that.
On the 17th is when Christie is coming with the superintendent.
Yeah, let me check before I say anything else. Let me just double check. I might have got it wrong here. I would trust the newsletter more than this, but I will double check either way. On March 24th, we're having an Eid dinner in partnership with the Borough's Islamic Society. That is through an MCOA grant that I received for cultural programming. So we will be able to provide the dinner for free. People will come and learn about Eid. They will come and talk about Ramadan and why they fast and all of that. So I think that'll be really exciting. Same with our Easter dinner. Our Easter dinner is going to be kind of a mix of the different Christian religions to come and talk about how each different religion celebrates Easter, and then also some of the more commercial sides of like an American Easter, where there's the Easter bunny and Easter eggs and how that all came to be. We are hoping in April to also offer a Passover lunch, so we're working out the details for that now. Those are all through the MCOA grant, so we will be able to provide all of those events for free.
That was quite a grant you got there for that.
Yeah.
My goodness, the gift that keeps giving.
Yes, so the Passover would be our final event. That would be the money's gone out. But yes, it worked out really well. We were able to have some really nice things for free, which is always, what we like to do. On April 7th, we're having the model train dinner. That was a weather adjustment, so the day that we were supposed to have it, it snowed, so that is a rescheduled event. I personally was really surprised with how many people were so interested in the train dinner, but he actually had quite a few signed up, so it seems like it's a pretty big hobby that I didn't really know was so popular. So hopefully, I don't know much about it, but my hope is that maybe this kind of creates its own group where people who collect those model trains can get together and maybe, work on them, talk about them, take turns sharing, what they have and how it works and what their setup is. It seems like it's a pretty big hobby.
What does the dinner entail? Is he bringing a setup?
So he's gonna bring his, but also talk about like, I don't know that he's gonna bring his whole setup, I think he's gonna
No,
bring
he
a few
can't, but he is
pieces.
bringing something.
And he's gonna kind of talk about, I think, how he got into the hobby, how you sort of make friends and connections in the hobby, what it looks like, you know, why he likes it. Yeah, it's a much bigger interest than I really thought it was, which is really neat that there's a group that's so
I had one as
interested.
a kid.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
yeah, some people really enjoy it.
In my house, we had a full setup.
Yeah, see,
Loved it.
yeah, ours
There's-
was downstairs.
There's, I think it's the Hudson Senior Center actually has a whole setup in their basement from
Yeah.
like years ago, and it's just still down there. They, I guess, had a group at one time. But I'm excited to see kind of what that ends up being, and, sorry, Bill? Did you
Yeah, it'd be worth all of you to go there. He has great detail. He spent his whole lifetime doing it, so.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a lifelong hobby for a lot of the people that are interested in it. So they've been collecting pieces for a very long time and have whole towns sort of built around it, which is cool. Harvey Leonard is coming for dinner on April 14th. I know that that'll be a big one. He always draws a big crowd.
Yes,
People
yeah.
really love the weatherman.
Yes.
So I think that'll be interesting, of course. And then I have some pictures. We have our new ping pong group is started up on Mondays. I have gotten some feedback. They do not like the ping pong tables that were at the rec department, so we're working through that. I have learned a lot about ping pong tables recently, so doing some figuring out there. Tammy has been very busy. There are pictures here from the Lunar New Year display that we had in the lobby. If anybody saw that, Tammy did a really fantastic job getting all of that together, and she was the one that put all of that together, which was really great. We have some pictures. We did a bingo dinner for Valentine's Day, and Dennis Fenton, of course, was the bingo master. He's really great at that. He will also be the one that's performing at the St. Patrick's Day dinner, I think, as has happened in the past several years, which is great. He gets really into character there. But that's it, that's my report.
That's good, that's all?
That's all.
Kendra, I have a question on the calendar. Is it possible once a month to have a meeting with the police chief on Wednesday morning? He has meetings every Tuesday, that's why we never see him, I was told. We used to have it with him here, and now nobody gets to meet him.
That was more of a question for him, but I'm thinking he's probably pretty busy, and that's kind of why. I'm always happy to ask, I'm kind of guessing.
We used to have him occasionally, but then his meeting date changed or whatever, so
Okay.
we never see him anymore. And I think it's good for residents to meet him at least occasionally. And if he has a meeting date conflict on Tuesday, could we once a month have him on a Wednesday morning?
Okay.
That's what I was told when the schedule changed.
Yeah, it's something we can bring up to him. Just to plug tomorrow, they have a new jail diversion social worker named Dabby. And so she is the guest at tomorrow's lunch. She'll be coming in to talk a little bit about her role with advocates and how they work with the town. So if you are interested, tomorrow is the breakfast with the police, and that will be the guest.
But he also plans on being there, right? According to-
I'm not sure about the chief. I think that usually depends on what's happened that day, that sort of answers his availability. I believe that his intention was to be there, and I think that with him will also probably be Cliff, who does a lot of the social. Yes, yeah. He does a lot of the social, like, engagement stuff, so he will probably be the one that's there, if I had to guess.
Also, I thank you for handling the council and aging report for the town annual report, which you'll all see printed in the annual report. Okay, all set with Kendra? Yes. Make a motion to accept. Second?
Right.
Roll call. So voted? Unanimous.
Martha made the motion.
Martha, the second.
I motion.
Martha motion, I don't know who made the second. Who made the second?
Bob,
Bob made the
Oh,
second.
I had Evan. Well,
It's okay.
she made the motion first.
pick one or
It's
two.
okay.
Okay. As far as upcoming dates, as you know, we have general elections tomorrow, Tuesday, 8 to 8. And we have the town meeting on the 21st, on a Saturday. And I think it starts at 9. At one time, it used to start at 1, which was much better for most people, but 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So, next we have, as far as future agenda topics, we still have WITA we want to discuss a little further at some point. And also we do still have, eventually someone from the library that's on there.
Yes.
Yes. Buildings. Wonderful.
Are you a library trustee?
Not anymore, no.
Oh, okay.
Kendra and I have been in touch with the library director to try to get that.
Oh, okay. Great, thank you.
Okay. Next we have a presentation.
Diane,
What?
acknowledgements.
What?
You skipped the acknowledgements?
I didn't have any
I
on
have
my
one.
list, but you have one?
I do.
Okay.
Just last month, we didn't meet it, and we missed the retirement of a longtime custodian of the senior center. Wayne Plude had been with the town a long time. I don't have when he started, but he started here at the senior center in 2014. So I was here over 12 years. A valued member pretty much of the staff here for those years. I know a lot of people have great memories of him, sometimes a little quirky humor that he had, and love of old cars and motorcycle. But anyway, I'd just like to publicly acknowledge his many years of service to the senior center and the seniors that come here, and wish him well in his retirement.
Many of us didn't know that he was retiring, and you happened to come upon it on last week by accident.
Yeah, because I was told about it, I think in early January, and just forgot.
So he came to change the batteries in my condo, and he told me he was retiring that day. So
That would not have been Wayne.
no, then who was
That
it?
was Mike, who also
Mike.
retired back
Handyman.
in December.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay,
my.
He was our handyman,
okay.
Mike. This was the
I have to say,
custodian.
Wayne was an excellent, super help when it came fair time in November. Unbelievable.
Speaking of batteries, I had a dead battery once, and he came out with his little jumpers, and
Yeah.
I was able to get a little jump battery thing and stuff that helped me out.
So they both retired at the same time?
A couple of months apart. Mike, back when was that, October or November?
Yeah, around November. I think late November was when Mike retired.
Uh-huh.
I do want to mention, so the senior tax work-off program is kicking off very soon. We do have a team of 2 people who are going to, because we don't have a replacement for Mike, they're going to be taking over the smoke detector battery program as their senior tax work-off job, so that we're still able to get through that list. So they're going to work together with me to start basically taking appointments and kind of find certain days that the 2 of them can go out in a team and do the smoke detector batteries.
That's a great program.
Yeah,
really.
it'll be really great to have them back on the road and up and running.
Not every town has that either.
I would say
bet you ours
vast
don't.
majority don't. Yeah, it's kind of an uncommon thing, but it's a great service for people.
It is. Okay, any other acknowledgements? I'm glad you're all here and happy spring.
It's a good acknowledgement.
Next we have a presentation by Kim and Kendra regarding the summary of the needs assessment related to Council on Aging.
So I wanted to take a couple of minutes kind of before we start diving into what we've done to talk about the needs assessment. So the needs assessment was developed in 2023, and it was specifically as it related to aging, and they called it the Senior Needs Assessment Implementation Plan. I'm sorry, that was developed from the Community Needs Assessment. The assessment gathered feedback from residents through surveys, focus groups, and demographic data. The goal was to better understand the needs of older adults in the community and identify how the town can continue supporting residents as they age. Following the report, a working group was made up of town staff, council on aging representatives, and community members, and they worked to develop an implementation plan. The plan includes 53 action items, each with a priority level, timeline, and department responsible for helping move it forward. The recommendations fall into 6 main areas for the senior center. The first is supporting residents' ability to age in the community. Many residents expressed a strong desire to stay in Westborough as they got older, but housing options and affordability can make that challenging. The second area is transportation. While most older adults currently drive, that changes as people age. Limited transportation can quickly lead to isolation. The plan suggests evaluating and potentially expanding transportation options, strengthening partnerships with regional providers, and improving awareness of the transportation services that already exist. The third focus area is support for family and unpaid caregivers. Many residents reported providing care to a spouse, parent, or loved one. Caregiving can be really stressful and very time-consuming, so the plan recommends expanding caregiver education, support groups, respite opportunities, along with improving communication about available resources. The fourth area looks at the facility, space, and accessibility of the senior center. And the fifth area is programming and social engagement. Many residents, particularly those in the younger senior population, said that they would participate more if the programs match their interests and schedules. The plan encourages continuing to expand fitness, educational, and recreational programs, and increases intergenerational opportunities and using community partnerships to broaden what we offer. And finally, the sixth area is communication and outreach. One of the most consistent findings from the assessment was that residents are simply not aware of the programs and services through the senior center. The plan recommends strengthening outreach through digital communication, newsletter, partnerships with town departments, and other methods to better reach residents throughout the community. I know that was a lot of words. Is there any questions specifically on that before I kind of start to talk about some different things that we've addressed through the program?
Oh, that's a good overview.
I know not everyone on the council was a council member at the time that this was completed, so it was really, there were 2 pieces to it. The initial study, which was conducted by folks from UMass Boston, they issued their report in May of 2023. That full report is available online, and there are several summaries. They did a number of presentations. They did a presentation to the select board, so there's actual video of it, but then there are a couple of different summaries. I printed one that I brought and can distribute. So that was a pretty lengthy, detailed report. Got into the findings from key informant interviews, focus groups, and then there were over 1,600 respondents to a survey that was mailed to all households with anyone 55 plus in the household. So the bulk of the information, the 1,600 plus respondents, gave us a really good sample size. So a lot of the items that were identified, frankly, were things we expected to hear, but it was great to have them quantified. It was both the quantitative and the qualitative data from the survey really helped us understand what the community was looking for. It identified strengths as well as challenges. But I think one of the important things when we started looking at how do we take this document and translate it into something that we can take action on, it was the acknowledgement that this was never intended to identify things that are strictly on the town, as in municipal government. This is sort of the broader community working together because many of the things are beyond the scope of what the senior center or even other town departments can do. And it really talks about collaborations and partnerships and other organizations that exist in the community that are already involved with and supporting and working on behalf of older adults. So I just wanted to acknowledge that there's a lot in the implementation plan, and it was something that was set up to cover a 5-year window. We've had a few challenges. We've had staff turnover. One of the things that at the time that the implementation plan was released in October, it was literally weeks before that plan was released, so it was nearly complete when it became public knowledge that the town was taking the community center to town meeting to request funding to purchase that building. So the implementation plan was released in October. October is when the town, the timing was very close. So we were challenged by having a lot of information and identification in the survey and an implementation plan that speaks to challenges of this building. Everything from the size, not being able to offer multiple programs, the location even, and frankly, there were a good number of people who identified making a left-hand turn out of the parking, out of the, as a problem. So we got a lot of information. And then, so to be fair, that was one of the big areas that was identified as a, something to do work on. And that one, we were in one respect able to check the box pretty quickly because the town voted to purchase the building at 1,500 with the intent of fitting up the lower level for a senior center. So we acquired the building with that intent, and then we did move forward with designing the lower level, although we don't yet have funding to move it forward. So I would say we've made significant progress in that area, but we are obviously not done because we're all still sitting here today. But just that's one that jumps out. There was that quirk of timing in when that all happened. But then I think there are also a lot of things in here that Kendra's just coming up on her year with the town. So I think there are some things we now have a new outreach case manager position, and we're in the process of interviewing to fill the program coordinator. So I think once we have the team really gelled, there are a number of things in here that Kendra already has plans to move forward. So the hope today is to have an initial conversation and then hopefully identify some areas that the council has an interest in supporting, either at a higher level or some things to maybe roll up your sleeves and get more involved in, and then to bring those items back over a series of future agendas.
Right.
So the intent isn't to address everything today. It's to put it out there. There's a lot of material here. The hope is have some conversation and then have more conversation as things get maybe, you think about it and have some more opportunity, and then we'll bring it back again. Thank you.
So where would you like to go, where would you like to go with this? I have some thoughts.
So I think that the hope is to kind of talk a little bit about what we've addressed as it kind of pertains to what the findings were. And I think too, it would be helpful maybe for the COA to identify some things that, maybe you guys are particularly interested in carrying forward, and some specific areas where you think that progress needs to be made in a more timely fashion, and things that you would like to move forward as a group, and what sort of your goals are as the Council on Aging.
So do you have something you're handing out to us?
The needs assessment, or what our findings
Or are you just gonna bring up a couple of lists of topics? I mean,
does everybody get a copy of the implementation plan at some point? It's several pages, the
2023 one?
Yes, yeah, okay. So,
but I didn't bring it with me.
don't
That's
have
okay.
mine either.
I think, so something that I think is really helpful that's on the town's website is, I can always make more. Something that I think is helpful, on the town's website, there's another document that is kind of an abbreviated version. I think it's a presentation that they gave to the Board of Selectmen. It kind of brings it into like a PowerPoint, more bulleted form. It's easier than, you know, going line by line. It has some of the information summarized. What I talked about initially were some of the things that were identified as the goals, a bit of a summary. So,
But Jen, you have a specific,
yes,
related to council on aging responsibility. In specific items, topics.
it's more, that's more for you guys to, as a council, decide on what the priorities are. What I have is what we've already addressed here in the office and what we've done in the past year to align with the goals that people identified.
So Kendra, how does that match up with this, what you've done?
So what I read initially was the summary kind of that document, what the people that filled out that survey were looking for primarily, what the most important areas were. And I have the information on what we've done and then, you know, what going forward we would like to do
But what
as it relates to that.
But what you've done, meaning what the senior center has done.
Right.
And did you match it up with what the
Yes,
implementation?
yeah, yes.
Okay.
So what the survey found was kind of what people were looking for. I kind of, using that, carried forward. I think a good example is, we heard a lot of feedback that people were needing transportation to a broader area. So that brought about the partnership with the WRTA. So hearing that people wanted to expand on where they were able to go, that was what started the initial conversations with the WRTA, where we were able to, you know, through a regionalized service, offer transportation to Worcester for medical appointments, to Southborough, to Marlborough Hospital, and then to also include some more recreational options. So they can come to the senior center, but they could also go to Shrewsbury Senior Center, and they can go to the Northborough Senior Center, and they can go anywhere in those Westborough, but also those two towns for any reason. So if, you know, if somebody wants to go and get their nails done, that is a great, you know, they can do that. If they want to go to lunch and meet a friend somewhere in Shrewsbury, they can also use our transportation to do that. And I think part of what the survey found was that, you know, without transportation, if you can't drive, it leads to not only just isolation, but it also leads to, there's declining health, because if you're not getting out, you're not socializing, you're not engaging your brain, you're not being active, there's so many downsides. So that was one of the primary things that people were looking for, was expanding the transportation in the transportation area.
Okay. You do specifically look, like, in the implementation plan, it lists the primary champions. And some are just the senior center, some you see the senior center and the council on aging. Did you just address the senior center and then we have to address the council on aging parts?
No, I think that that's kind of where we would work together. So if you guys identify that there's something, you know, that you're hearing from the community or that you feel is the priority and what we should be addressing first, that's kind of your role, is to inform us, like the staff, of what your finding is the most important.
Well, for the past couple of years, we're always talking about communication and getting people to know what the senior center does and what other services they can use. And so many times, the past couple of years, we've talked about, there used to be a TV program, Westborough cable TV program, that I believe 2 members handled that. Yeah, so I'm thinking, why don't we revive that program that used to be on the Westborough TV?
And something like that would be a great thing for you guys to take on.
Yeah, I think that'd be something we
It
could
would be-
immediately attack. If we had a couple people from the council handle the TV portion of it. And I think, I wasn't here then, but I think the 2 that did handle it before would use the senior scene program, the events and everything, and they would talk about that. on the TV program. So is anyone here?
Well, before we go tactical,
Yeah.
I want to step, it's almost a few things I feel we need to almost take off this list because we're not sure when we will have a new facility to use. Right, so it's almost like some stuff can come off. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing as much programming as you can possibly do in this place, and like I said, great job with that grant of yours there. Because we don't know if it's gonna be up in 2029 as an article, you're teaching me, an article on the warrants, okay? Because we don't know when it's actually coming up, there's a lot we can't do because we don't have that new facility. But there are some things we can do, and I think communications, before we dive into just, torturing poor Karen back there, I think communications overall is a place where this council can make a massive difference. So since I've been on your board here, I've gone to several events, and there's a couple of things I noticed. First of all, it's the same people always who go to these events, always. It's like the same 50 to 60 people. The other thing is the ages are very high, right? So we say 55 plus in our research, but it's really like kind of up there in the 75 plus. I would argue 70 and 75 plus. So I would think that as a council on aging, what could be really visible, really fun, and is to come up with a communications plan overall. So there's a couple of weaknesses. A, the town doesn't have a communications director because it was cut from the budget, so we're gonna have to do this on our own.
I will say, so part of the progress that we've made is modernizing the role that Mary Ellen had before she retired.
Awesome.
So Mary Ellen's position was called the Program and Volunteer Coordinator. The selectmen approved an adjustment. It is now Program and Engagement Coordinator, and because we've had some adjustments in what we do through volunteers, that role is now less responsible for the volunteer coordination and more responsible for helping modernize the newsletter, helping modernize our publications, and also doing more audits of the programs. So getting better feedback, more feedback from people who are participating, but also from the community to hear about, maybe there's some new fad that is really popular at Chauncey and we don't know about it. And there's a bunch of people who are more in the 60 to 70 window that really love this particular class, and we just don't know about it. This person's responsibility and their role is more to find newer, modern, maybe more exciting ideas and to hopefully start attracting a different population across the board.
I have nothing negative to say about the programming here. I think the programming has really been upscaled since you've joined us. I think you're doing, the cultural stuff is just brilliant because it appeals to everyone, so.
And the hope is that I think a good example, Strength and Balance is great because it's adaptive. So you could have somebody who might be in their high 90s who's doing that class that has some limitations on what they can do physically. In that same class, next to them might be someone who's 60 who just retired and is very physically fit, very able, but they might not know about it.
Right.
So a lot of the role of this new position is to kind of change up the wording and to advertise it differently, to kind of share what we're already doing with a new audience. And I think having someone who's a little bit more focused and dedicated on that route will help us a lot with attracting, hopefully, some new participants.
And that's absolutely brilliant. And sorry, can I finish my, So I think what you're doing is brilliant. I think bringing in this new skill set is great. And hopefully you guys can do more with like Facebook and all the other social media that we care about. One thing we could do here very quickly for the town that I think would be very impressive is to somehow aggregate, I've done this over at Chauncey Lake, I can give you what we have, is to somehow aggregate every service in this town that is for older adults into one convenient location. Because the one thing I hear all over the place is, I didn't know. Whether it's veterans.
Communicate.
Yeah, whether it's veteran services, or I have a 2-page sheet of all the here's who you call for this, here's who you call for this, like every resource in the great town of Westborough. And I think that we could publish that as a council on aging and get it all over the place and have an immediate win. We can get it into all the centers around town because we just don't know. Like, I think what you're doing, brilliant programming too about town meeting. I was new to Westborough, I never heard of such a thing. So,
Yeah.
the constant letting people know what the town has to offer beyond just here. So what your person's doing is great. I think that's just gonna, he or she will enhance everything like brilliantly. But I think for right now, this Council on Aging could have a nice victory by putting together the quintessential list of everything a senior should care about.
I think something like a resource guide would be a great project for you
Bingo,
guys.
resource guide.
That's Kim's, I just heard her.
Oh,
It's on
great
here,
name,
and it's on here.
Kim.
But I think that would be a really great project for, whether it's the whole council, a few of you to kind of charge forward and make that a good mission, something nice to complete. And I think it would benefit the senior center, sure, but it would more benefit, who do I call to, or how do I get a dump sticker? I'm new to town and I don't know that it's through the Board of Health, but it is, like a what's what in
Yeah.
Westborough. That would be a great thing, yeah.
So I have two questions, because I live at the Willows. Do you plan to come to the Willows and talk about the senior center? And when might you ever have the newsletter be able to be put in different areas? So I hear from people, I don't know what's going on there. Their average age is in the 80s. Many of them don't have or use computers. They want print or announcements.
Yeah, so I do plan on going to the Willows to specifically talk about transportation. I'm happy to talk about other stuff while I'm there, but right now I'm really trying to get the transportation information out into the community.
But they won't know if they want transportation if they don't know what programs are offered.
Well, I mean, because our transportation could take someone to a doctor's appointment, to meet a friend, shopping, like a whole variety. It doesn't just have to be here. It'd be great if they're coming here, but it doesn't have to be here. So I'm hoping to get out more and more and more into the community about the transportation. That brings up other conversations while I'm there. Naturally, people will have questions about things. And yes, I would like to get our newsletter better distributed. I'm actually working with, hopefully it'll kind of come through successfully. Assabet High School, the vocational high school, to talk to them about helping us with the printing and the distribution, which would be a great partnership between us and the schools. I'm going there to meet their teacher who runs that group. And he's gonna give me some samples, and we're gonna talk about kind of what we can do together, what the cost looks like, what the effectiveness looks like, what the students can and can't help with. And I'm hoping that by doing that, we have a better reach.
So now, don't they get the flyers at your
I
complex?
can't hear you.
They don't they get the senior scene at your complex?
No.
Oh, no one drops it off?
No.
'Cause I was under the impression that the complex
About,
is like that.
what was it, 2 years ago, they stopped being delivered? We used to get them at Orchard Hill, at the condo complex also.
That's because the bus driver
Well, there are other bus drivers.
lived in the complex.
I-
But now our complex is getting it via email, and
Yeah,
then
but
we
we-
distribute it.
Most of my people can't get it by email.
The issue about the newsletter is, from my standpoint, it is so dense. It takes forever to get through it. It's pretty, it's got all kinds of pictures, but it is so dense that I like, ugh.
It's more difficult on email, I think, than
Yeah,
actually
it's
in
difficult to get
person.
through it.
But the one in person is not.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a good person to contact, what we can do is probably email it to the Willows and have them distribute it to the residents there as well.
We have some ambassadors here at different complexes that could probably handle it.
Right, well, it's a lot easier for us if they handle the distribution, like if
Yeah.
there's a staff person we can send it to that can share it. So if there is a contact at the Willows that wouldn't mind printing it and putting it in mailboxes or however they kind of manage.
I don't know if they could print over 100, 150 of them.
the problem is I don't think that we could. Yeah, probably just the middle page, the calendar, would be the easiest thing.
Yeah, well, when you've had an extra one, I've taken one and put it on the bulletin board,
Right.
but they tend to disappear.
So can I go back to my item for a second? Because we skirted right over that, and I think we need some level of a group of people to make this happen, okay? So I'm happy to lead this COA resource guide for the great town of Westborough, but who's gonna join me? Don't all put it up at once, okay? We'll have to meet separately, okay? Anybody else wanna join?
I'll do it.
Okay.
We need to figure out if you need to do that as a working group, because depending on how many of you are meeting, so.
Oh, is that one of those rules?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll look at it, but I think, if maybe initially,
So
if
keep it
it's
at
2
two.
to 3 of you, and come back with some
I think
ideas about an approach.
I already have a 2-pager that to start with, so.
Sorry, I know.
You know, so we have a place to start, so why don't do the 3 of us make a group? Or,
Is
Yes,
two better?
find
I don't know. Is it?
It's the fact that you're doing something and bringing it back, the number, it's less about if it's a quorum. We'll figure it out and get back to you.
Well, you know what, I'll step out because,
oh,
because you're new to the town and Diane's been around for a long time. I think the two of you.
Diane, you and me, we're gonna get this
You
done.
did that diplomatic.
No, but I really think there's a value to it.
Diane, you and me will have coffee, we'll figure this out. We're gonna get it done
And I'll get
quickly
back
and
to you, if you
efficiently.
can, if we can do it without having to post it as a working group meeting,
Yes.
I'll get back to you with the details on
So
it.
Diane and I can like just have
Oh,
coffee or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Could it
Yes, I
be
want- I want to-
an agenda item for next month?
Yeah.
I'd like it done by next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Gotta rock and roll here, kids.
yeah.
I'm not getting any younger.
That's actually something that we had a lot of discussion during when the implementation group was meeting, this acknowledgement that there are a lot of resources in the challenges, where putting it together in a place, and then once you've compiled and have some sort of a list, somebody needs to pay attention to it so that it can stay reasonably up to date. So it's great to create it, but then I would just consider who's gonna be watching and make sure it stays up to date.
Yeah, I'm happy to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Then the other thing around that notion was, thinking about who are the community partners, so it may not just be the Council on Aging members putting that together, but as you're looking at other organizations in the community that do a lot of work with older adults, potentially pulling in someone from that group to help you, because they can round out. Again, this doesn't have to be just things that are available through the town. It can identify other organizations in the community, so for instance, the food pantry.
Oh, we have
or-
all that in there.
And then, we just need to have it for an eye toward making sure, typically, when we put together those lists, it is more nonprofit, community organizations versus
Inclusive, yeah.
versus for-profit. So for instance, not listing maybe any specific attorneys who deal with elder law, but maybe there's
There's like a
a
hotline.
hotline type of thing. So just that nuance of individual providers.
I'd be thrilled to work with Diane on this. It would be a good time. And so did you hire your person or you're still working on it?
Working on it.
Yeah, so this is so in the communications, if you look at the fact that we've already made a decision to have a resource guide, then when your new person comes in, he or she can be promoting that, all the things that you're doing, like it's just a great place to kind of like start, because this is visible and it can really show that we're doing something in the community.
I think too, there might be an opportunity to work with the outreach case manager. She has a pretty comprehensive idea of the services in the area and what is particularly of interest. Catherine.
Oh, yes, okay.
She would have like a really good handle on the nonprofit organizations that.
Am I allowed to
specifically
talk to
order-
her as part of this responsibility?
Just go through Kendra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you send me an email, I'm happy to forward it on to her and ask her to provide some feedback.
exciting, thank you.
Over the last couple of months, we've also had Springwell come on 2 separate occasions. And I think in both cases, they gave us a sheet of a whole bunch of things. That's a service that they do. You call them and they refer you to,
Yeah,
you know, for all
Springwell has a
sorts.
department called Information, INR, Information something referral, Information and Referral, and it's basically a number and they tell you who to contact.
Perfect, yeah, Springwell's on my list, I'm not sure if I have INR on it, but we really do have a good place to start, and yeah. Excellent, thank you Diane for volunteering, I'm looking forward to working with you.
I would think it would
That's what we
be,
get paid for.
Exactly, that's why we make the big bucks.
Kim, I think it would be okay if any of us have any input that we'd like to send them that input, right? And
Send
that's
it
part
to
of the group.
Kendra. If you would send it to Kendra,
Okay.
and then she can share it. That
Okay.
way we just don't
Because
want to
there's been a
follow
lot
any
of
open
stuff that
meeting
we
law
picked
stuff.
up. from the
Absolutely,
assessor's
and I'm new
office
here,
and
so-
that issue.
I'm the new kid on the
Yeah,
block.
I mean, that's why I really suggest that we also take a look at it as the Council on Aging group.
Totally.
Yeah, and before it's, before it's sent to.
Oh, no, I want it to be from all of us, so we
Yes.
should all look at it and put our fingerprints on it.
I just think it's important for us to all look at it before it goes, before it goes
You all
out
get
there.
to see it.
Yes.
So I think that the resource guide is something great to focus on. Something else that is timely and kind of something that a lot of senior centers are talking about right now is names. And that was identified as potentially considering kind of a rebranding.
Which may, and rebranding to me may or may not be a
Of
name
what?
change.
So there are a number of towns that have changed from senior center and they're now active living center, something more like that. It's a really hard, people have a lot of really complex feelings about it. In one respect, it might attract some of the younger seniors coming to participate who don't necessarily want to go to a senior center but might participate in an active living center. The other kind of school of thought is that there are, places for children, which are schools. There should also be a place for an older adult that is dedicated space just to them. So neither is wrong. People have a lot of complex feelings about it, and I think that could potentially be a broader conversation, especially as we kind of look ahead at hopefully getting a new building. That might be where the name is really relevant, really important. But I think just in general, maybe like not a physical coat of paint, but a fresh coat of paint on the senior center. Liven it up, modernize it a little bit.
So I have given that tons of thought, as you might imagine. And as we look, and I don't know what happens in the future, but I do like the idea of Westborough having the community center. However, and Carolyn, after talking to you, I hear everybody on the senior center like we should have our own place, and I get that. So what about something as simple and elegant? Because we want, at some point, we want that center to encompass all of Westborough. Like, we don't want anybody to say, I don't belong here, right? And right now, if you say senior center, it eliminates a group of people, senior and rec. What if it was something as simple as active living senior center? What if it was something that simple? Like, assume it's a floor or a building, the active living senior center.
Leave senior out of it, active living center.
Well, no, the seniors, there's a lot of seniors that I've spoken to who wanted to be senior in there, and especially because of all the communities and people that have come in, and people have said, hey, like, we're here, we pay a lot of money, we use none of the resources in town, which happens to kind of, except for the police and fire who show up every day. But we don't use a lot of the snow removal and garbage and all of that, so at the end of the day, what's in it for us, right? That's, we pay our taxes. And so I think active living senior center, I'm gonna be 66. I like that. It feels good and inclusive. So just a thought.
She said,
I'm liking it too. I mean, because of the point of what you're saying, the senior population in this town is growing, and we don't get much for our money. When we think about, I just put my taxes on my tax, my property taxes on my tax return, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, it's a lot.
So I think with this specifically, it's not just gonna be decided in this room. There's a lot
course,
that
yeah.
goes into it. There's, public input, selectmen input,
Right.
town staff input, there's a whole spectrum, but I think maybe collectively or having a working group talk about, what does the Council on Aging, what they want to put forward? What direction do you, as a group, kind of want that to go in? Doesn't mean that it'll happen 100% the way that this group wants it to, because there's so many other factors in the community, but to have kind of a general idea of what is the agreed upon
So
term.
the implementation plan, is that to be used as a guideline?
Yes.
Okay, that doesn't mean we have to strictly adhere to this,
Right.
because it was done in '23, so it's almost 3 years old, things change.
It's meant to be kind of a tool to use, to have good input about what the people in this community want. Like what is being put forward, what are the things that are most important, what is the timeline people are looking for, and just to have an idea of what people are looking for, what the town and also, you guys as a board can do to best support the older adults in the community.
Yeah, again, I can't help but think of the future, because, it's always like right in front of us, but thinking about a center that incorporates every resident, if you just have rec and senior, okay, you're really missing a large swath of people in the town. So the opportunity for rec to be really for families and active living senior center to kind of grab the 55 plus. And, to Mirtha's point, like this survey, we're in our 10th building at Del Webb and there's 4 more to come. So like we've tripled in size since this survey. It's out of control. And all the other centers have grown too. So I think for the seniors to feel that they have a place, for there to be no gap in that center between the people upstairs and downstairs, for lack of a better term, I think the key, and I know we don't make the decision, it's to be as inclusive as possible and be as specific as possible. That's the challenge.
Well, for me, I'll just read the first one. It says, explore eligibility for resident prioritization for affordable senior housing. To me, that's critical, affordable senior housing. And it's high priority, and action initiation is year 1. And it lists the Senior Center, Council on Aging, Affordable Housing Trust, Westborough Housing Authority, and the Select Board. So, explore eligibility for resident prioritization for affordable senior housing. As the Council on Aging, how do we even approach this?
That really comes down to advocating for change, probably at the legislative level, because this is talking about affordable housing units and how the state maintains effectively there's waiting lists.
Right, yeah, so people get it really confused because it's called the Westborough Housing Authority and kind of think that the town has some sort of jurisdiction over it. It is, the housing authorities are they're either federal or they're run through the state. So they are governed separately from, the town. They aren't a town department or anything like that. I think it's kind of the role of the senior center director, but also the Council on Aging to, at any opportunity, advocate for additional senior housing, because that's what's needed. Right now, if someone in this room needed to apply for affordable housing, it's a multiple year long. Probably closer to from 3 to 5 years. Don't quote me on that, not an exact estimation, but about 3 to 5 years that you would be waiting to get moved into an affordable unit. Now, if you have any limited mobility, that wait time is increased because the public housing in Westborough was built before ADA laws and there was ADA compliance, so there's not elevators in all of those buildings. I don't know that there's elevators in any of the public housing buildings in Westborough. So the problem is if you are having some sort of physical limitation that limits you from going up and down the stairs, you're going to wait even longer for a first floor apartment to become available. So I think, you know, there's probably some avenues for advocating for additional public housing, because at this point, that's what's needed. It's not really, there's no sort of way around it, and it's not a Westborough problem, it's a state of Massachusetts problem. It's everywhere in the state of Massachusetts that there's a housing crisis. But primarily, you know, what we need to focus on is Westborough.
And I think also
there's
maybe,
more housing needed.
excuse me, on the resource guide that you two will be working on, that could be, we can list where you go to, who you call if you are in need of
And the
housing.
complex that comes in, the town, city, state, whatever, they have to have a certain percentage of affordable housing.
Or they pay it off.
It's, so, even at Del Webb, I assume they have some affordable ones. And
No, we don't.
they didn't put any, like,
No, they
because
don't. They
also, they have to have a
They gave $9 million to the
percentage.
town
Yeah, we have a different deal with
So-
senior services, which is a good thing in the future, believe me.
But again, it's not, you know, yes, we should advocate for additional senior housing, but short-term, what can we do? We can put whoever the contact is or telephone number is on this resource guide. And I suggest the resource guide be sorted by topic, not in alphabetical order, so it's easy for someone, you know, someone to use.
I think of any of
Yourself on
the,
committee?
any of the items, I think the ones that are the most challenging is one of the major findings in the survey was the challenge for individuals who want to stay in the community, but there are very few options for people to downsize. And one of the, you know, a lot of discussion, I know we've had at various times, both Ed Bain and Alan Edinburgh from the Affordable Housing Trust have come in and talked. I think the last presentation, I think really tried to present sort of the landscape of that whole housing. It was a lot of detail, but I think we could also invite them back to talk about some specific programs
Yeah.
and or areas where the council could become an advocate and send letters of support to our legislative delegation, or, you know, they may be able to help come up with some specific action items that the council could support. The one thing I want to point out, so that one related to how the state runs the affordable housing program, and that's a challenging nut to crack, but 3 of the other action items that fall below that on the implementation plan have in part been addressed when when the state adopted in August of 2024, they now permit communities can build
Accessory
dwelling units up to 900 square feet by right. So in the zoning world, that was very complicated in the past. Some communities allowed it, some didn't. There were a lot of restrictions. The state stepped in, and this is now allowed by right. Doesn't mean it immediately solves the problem, but it does open up one opportunity for homeowners who might want to build that secondary space for either a rental or for a family member. So there's been progress on that front. I don't know to what extent it's been just about a year since those have been able to be built by right. I don't know what the data are showing in terms of how many have been built. But that was one of the things that was identified, and I think if not the council, I think the select board sent letters of support to our legislative delegation when this was being taken up. So that's just an example of that's action that the town can take. You can also seek, if there's something that you identify that the council wants to support, the council can also ask the board to send letters of support as well. So I think kind of tracking what's going on legislatively that may have what you perceive as a beneficial impact on older adults, we work very closely with our legislative delegation, so we can try to continue to offer those letters of support. One of the things that I had noted when I went back through all of this, I thought you were maybe going there.
Did I not go there?
No. One of them is around a rebranding effort, and to me, rebranding could be a name change, but I think there could also be other ways to start to, in other ways, rebrand to sort of reshape awareness of the programs and offerings that both happen here, and now that we are able to partner and offer things at the community center. One of the other findings in the report was to seek to identify other places to hold programming in the community. So, we try to partner with other town departments, the library, the recreation department, but are there other organizations in the community that the senior center can partner with to host programming, especially if we're talking about maybe the personal growth, the educational type of things. So to me, rebranding doesn't have to be solely changing, it could be part of it and working toward a name change, but there may be other ways to enhance, I guess, marketing.
What page is that on?
That was specifically in the findings from the study,
Oh,
and I
okay.
think
Not from the implementation?
it might be in here, but not in that
I'll make
level
it a
of
note
detail.
to email everybody the presentation that Kim was reading that from. It's on the town's website as like a summarized version of the findings, but I'll make a note to send that in an email to everybody.
It's funny, there's only so much you can do with where we keep coming up to the hand on the, because I do think we're doing as good of a job as we can with the resources we have in, here. Because like the library does some great programming. That was my point about resources, like bringing it all together, because everybody's doing little great things all over the place.
And so I think that there's probably a lot of room. I did just, I had a meeting with a charitable organization called Post 22, which is located on the second floor. It's in Bay State Commons. It's on the second floor. It kind of looks directly into the recreation department's windows. It's above the nail studio that's on the first floor. And so through meeting with them, we talked about having a senior coffee hour. So on Tuesday mornings, we're going to start offering through Post 22 a coffee hour for seniors. They also offered to let us start facilitating some of our programs there as their space allows it, which was a really great opportunity. If you haven't been there, it's a program for young adults with disabilities. After you graduate from the public high school, which is the Post 22, that's when the adaptive programming ends. They go to this organization to learn job skills, social skills, and they go on like internships during the day. So a lot of the times during their programming hours, they are at their internships. So they are at their jobs where they're learning those, on the job skills. So I just met with their director on Thursday, and my hope is that by starting with this coffee hour, we can also maybe introduce games or having some different community, like myself, or having Catherine come and talk about outreach, or having the veterans agent talk about veteran services, but to really involve people, hopefully increase the participation there, which, helps them. It helps them adding their coffee hour. It gives them sort of some tasks to do related to serving and customer service, but it also gives us some more flexible space. And it's another program that's happening away from here, which helps free up a room here.
It's a great idea. And what's in it for them? Because they're for young adults, so why do they want us old people in there?
So the program, like I said, is meant for people to learn job skills.
Okay.
So the young adults that are there would be serving coffee, making coffee and treats,
my
and it would be like that. They would be learning the customer service part. So that was what it would be.
There was a big article.
This is a
And that's when
different.
they learn how to work in the.
Yes, yes. So
last
similar
2
but
weeks.
different. That's through the
So
school
this is
department.
Yeah. Okay.
It's in Bay State Commons. It's on the second floor above the nail studio that's there. Their windows look into the recreation department's windows. So it's on the second floor up there. There's an elevator, so it's accessible to get to. Once you go the first time, it's very easy to navigate. And they have a really beautiful, it almost looks like a warehouse space because it's all open, big windows. But really the point is getting people in the community there so that their young people can learn those customer service
Love
skills.
And social skills.
Right, exactly, yeah. So it would kind of benefit the both of us. We would bring the people, they would bring the customer service, and
The Bishop
Awareness.
has done very well with their candies. Everybody talks about their candies. So-
yes, the Borough Sugar Shack, they donated to our holiday party this year. They made little goodie bags for us, which was really great.
Yeah.
But that's just one way, trying to get creative. It's not necessarily our space, but it is a space that down the line we can hopefully program out of.
That's great,
Yeah.
love it.
One thing you missed, if I can add, it assists the parents of those children also.
Right, yes, it is kind of a respite program for the parents. It gives them the opportunity to get to whatever they've got going on during the day.
Similar to what we do here, we have a respite.
Yes, yeah, kind of, yeah.
Different age group, whatever. But I'd still like to see a couple people have the TV program on the Westborough TV and run through the programming and everything. And does that stream to the Del Web and all the places?
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
It's on YouTube and on TV. So if people have Charter or Verizon, they can watch it there if they prefer
So
to
they
watch
can watch it in
online.
their apartments, or they can go to like the community part of the center there and watch them all together. Then they can talk about it amongst each other.
There you go.
Okay. So I'd like to see that program revived. At least get information, it's part of communicating.
Well, I think one of the things we discussed, and we went back and forth on this, but I think we were volunteering Kendra to go through the monthly newsletter on TV.
Yeah, I think, I mean,
Bring the monthly newsletter to life.
I think if there's one or two people that are interested, that's something we can work, like, at a staff level, I can work with Karen or someone on her team with to kind of get that going. I mean, I think it would be great if there's someone interested. Being on camera is not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm sure somebody in here would not mind too much.
Yeah, Karen's waiting.
I am a ham, but I was saving myself for different programming later on. But what about your new person, Catherine? Might
So
she be a camera
Catherine's
person?
an outreach case manager. She's doing like the social services side of the senior center. So she is
Oh,
a different kind of a job.
So
And I think it's valuable to have staff participate, but I think the message is sometimes better or differently received if it's not staff fully the ones presenting the information.
So the Council on Aging in Southborough does the cable TV show for the seniors in Southborough. It's not a reading of the newsletter.
oh, what do they do?
I just retired, but when I was a Shine counselor, they used to always interview me just before open enrollment started with what's coming up new with open enrollment. They also interviewed a gal who's, she and her husband specialize in turning your home into something that's more accessible as you get older. If you have some restrictions physically, there's all kinds of options of things that you can bring up that is not just reading the newsletter.
Right, it's a start.
Yeah.
But I think that's
That's up to
Kendra's
Karen.
point, might be a good opportunity to come up with some potential formats and then come back to the council and get some feedback.
And Carolyn, would this be once a month?
Well, I don't know for sure. But let me talk to Doug Peck, who runs it for Southborough, and get some feedback from him about what happens. And I think it might have been once a month. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Karen?
If I could, Diane, it would really be up to what you guys think would be good to communicate out to the community.
Right.
So if you think it would be helpful to have a show that has topics, like she's mentioning, of interest to the senior population, that could be a lot of different topics, and you could do it that way. If you think it would be helpful to maybe And that could be a monthly show, it could be more frequently than that, just again, depends on what you're looking for. If it's a show to communicate what's happening at the senior center or beyond, senior programming, then you could get on, that's more of the, not necessarily reading the newsletter, but basically here's what's coming up.
Right.
So maybe you do that once a month and you have different people who might do hey, here's a topic of interest to folks, and maybe it's connected. It's a topic of interest to folks, and by the way, this person's also coming to the senior center to talk more about it later this month or something. So it would really be for you to tell us what you think would be helpful, and then we'll help you create a show to get it out there and,
I wasn't trying to limit it to just reading.
yeah.
I was,
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
No,
start,
I get,
it was a
I
start to
understood
get communication of what's happening.
Right.
you know.
So let me explore and report
Okay.
back the next meeting.
So you're the explorer.
Okay.
We're gonna all be TV stars now. Karen will make us look good, it'll be okay.
One more, Sheriff, if I could. At this meeting, like you well said, it's on Westborough TV. If you can click on it, put a comment underneath for this meeting, you've turned this organization way around, okay? I've been around for a long time. And for this meeting, to the public to understand what you're trying to undertake and do, this meeting alone says a lot. Please do it.
We're trying.
No, you are.
Well, Karen, you always post stuff when it's gone live on Facebook, so there's always an opportunity to comment below.
I have to be honest, I found it very hard I wanted to watch one of the meetings and I couldn't find it.
Go to YouTube.
Yeah, they're all on
Yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube's easy.
Yeah.
But then you have several channels,
Right, so we do push them out to YouTube, so you could search on our YouTube channel, but we also have our website, and if you go to, there's a thing that says government meetings, and you go to government meetings and you type in Council on Aging, they should all come up for you, so I'm happy to help you, but
Okay,
it's
thank you.
I'd love to see what you were looking for, like the direction you went, because maybe that would help us to make it clearer to people so they can see it.
Is there a specific Spectrum channel?
There is, it depends on what you're watching, so a government meeting is on Charter Spectrum 192. But then our public shows, which are, the concerts at the Willows or a speaker at the library, are on 191. And our education programming is all on 194. So that's again, those charter numbers. Verizon's a little easier. Verizon is 24, 26, and 28.
Going back to the resource guide, where would that be published?
It would, yeah, so probably on our page on the town website, and probably provide some paper copies both here and maybe distributed at some of the different places, like the Willows, the Chauncey's.
I saw it listed somewhere, but I'm not sure where it was.
Bob
There used to be
bagged in there, the community advocate has a 55+ thing, we can always ask him if you wanted to include it too.
We had created during COVID, the town created a resource guide, and we had, I know that was on the website for that period of time.
Oh, okay.
Identified a lot of different, particularly human service types of things. One of the lessons we learned though is to the extent that you produce paper copies and then it's continually getting out of date and needing to be refreshed.
Yeah.
Understood.
So the real living, breathing document is best accessed online, but understanding not everybody can access that, like
Yeah, you
balancing
put a
those two
caveat, like
things.
current
Those people
too.
over 80.
Yeah. So,
Really?
I'm
No,
keeping an eye on
She
the-
said the average age at the Willows is 80, so.
one of the other things that I had flagged, and I think, I don't remember how recently we've had conversations about it, but it's something I know has come up in the past with the council, is the idea of, I don't love the name, but some sort of an ambassador program, but basically identifying opportunities for council members to go out into the community, to share information in the community, but then also bring information back. But another piece that came up in the survey was based on, trying to welcome individuals, make sure individuals who may be coming to the senior center for the first time feel
Right.
welcome, and having somebody sort of help facilitate that. So I'm wondering if the ambassador program could encompass both going out into the community, maybe then bringing folks back for, lunches, creating something where if it's their first time here, it's a free lunch, but they're here with somebody who can do introductions. So that might just be something to explore in the future.
So where
if there's
that
an
could
interest.
exist is, I know we have one coming up, Martha, it's, they have an orientation, they just started this for when new people move in, so they do it every couple of months and so that can be in all of these buildings, new resident orientations kind of
Well, there
thing.
used to be a welcome wagon.
Oh, I
But I think
remember those.
this is more specific for the council
Right.
to
Yeah.
seek, to connect
But
to.
yeah, I'm saying we could go, like, I could go to the Del Webb one or anybody's and talk about the senior center and the council on aging and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that there's probably, it would be very helpful for us to, if we're having like the big St. Patrick's Day dinner, it might be nice if someone's new, hasn't been here before, to say, oh, why don't you sit with Diane and she'll kind of
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
to you about the senior center and the programs. It can be really intimidating to come somewhere like this for the first time and to see everybody sitting together with people they know and for you to not really know anybody. But just to have that like designated person who is at some of the bigger events or people to point new people to and to kind of,
We do table monitors.
Right, yeah.
When we're holding an event that that a lot of new people are coming in, we will assign a table monitor who's been around to each table. And like I said, when I go to the programs, it is a lot of the same people over and over. I can think of several people who would fit that bill perfectly, like the nice lady with the cowboy hat, the one who eats,
Chris.
the one with the appetite, I just love her. So she could be a good one too. There's several people who are here all the time that might be able to,
A host.
a table host, yeah, or a table ambassador.
Actually, when I do those functions here, I try and walk around different tables anyway.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
say hello and greet and stuff. Like a meet and greet thing. But we should all do that, walk around
Yeah.
to these sessions. Okay, I think we have a lot to chew on. So,
Kendra, I'm sorry, are you gonna hand out that sheet of the things you were talking about that you said you have done?
Oh, yeah.
All the list
the
of the
list of
accomplishments that have been done that you can check off.
I mean, mine is kind of just my notes, but next meeting, I can try to bring a more formalized version of it. This is just for me to read off of, like, my.
Did you want to hand those out?
Yeah, okay. I think we could go through the grid. There are many things I would say we've made a lot of progress on. I don't know that there's anything that's ready to be, not done, never be revisited. So maybe we could color code it in a way that shows things that are significant progress. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we all could use another review of this
Absolutely,
before the next
yes.
meeting.
Yes.
There's a lot here, and I know the survey is a couple of years old, but I think if you go back and look at the actual survey questions and you look at the responses, I don't think they're too quickly out of date, and particularly when you marry them to the implementation plan. And, but that being said, one of the things that came up is through that ambassador program, if there are more connections into the community as things pop up and we might want to reprioritize or something is happening and things are evolving, it might be more timely.
So it's kind of like Kendra's asking all the communities if she can speak about transportation. Maybe when we all have a resource guide, we can ask the communities if we can come and talk about the resource. Like, there's reasons to go see people if we want to make that a program for the COA. And I'll talk to anybody.
I'm passing out, this is a really short, but it was one of the early, it's an overview of the needs assessment. And there is a lot of additional information posted on the website. I don't have as many copies, but here's a more detailed, this I believe is from the presentation that the consultants did I think, to the select board. Again, it's on the website. I printed out, I've got about 5 copies, so I'll leave them up here and I can certainly make more. But it's a lot there. Every time I reread it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Since I'm sitting here, I'll take one.
I'll take them too, because I'm not real computer savvy.
And if there's
Maybe I
anything
should
else
have
anybody
longer arms.
wants, feel free to reach out. I know we can make
Good luck with that.
Right.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Carolyn. Second? M&M. M&M.
The date for our next
And the
meeting.
next meeting date is April 13th, and it's not Friday.